Praises.
Praises and cheers.
Praises and cheers, that's right. mm, mm.
Praises and cheers, Marie. That's that's really going around right now.
Is I mean, it's like so perfect to just like giving the praise and celebrating it, like just celebrating that capability and that power. Yeah. Mm.
Absolutely. Do you know where that came from?
Baba just started saying it. He just brought it through, pulled it through.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah. That's that's the first time I had heard it, and he was like, "I feel like this could be a thing, like a long-term thing." And I'm like, "Yeah."
Was
Like,
that quite some time ago, like years ago?
yeah, I think probably like maybe three. I
Okay,
could be a little off on that,
okay.
but
Well,
I feel like at least two, two and a half, three.
two and a half, 2.5 to be sure. It's
Mm.
catchy. It's catchy. It's got a ring to it.
Yeah, that's he was actually talking about podcast names, and he was like, I could just call it praises and cheers or just like names, and I'm like, yeah,
Sure. You just call it praises and cheers,
right,
Praises.
because it covers such a vast array, but also like dials in on the energy of like what we're doing and what we're speaking.
Right, right. So
Mm.
praises and cheers for the one who have ears,
Mm.
for the ones who have ears. Let me see
Yes.
if everything is coming in clear. Just want to make sure uh,
Mhm.
the connection's
Yeah, I was
okay.
gonna ask you as well if my service was good, if everything was clear.
The voice is kind of clear, but the visual is a little fuzzy. It's a little
Mm.
fuzzy on the visual. Let me see if everybody else can see you. Y'all, let me know if you can see Marie clearly.
I was laughing because I was actually like trying to find a spot today where it would stay shaded, and I was just like cracking up. So I'm like, this is like so silly, but just like so much gratitude for it at the same time that it's just so sunny everywhere. But I'm like, I think I found a spot, but the service might
It looks
be
good. Now it
up.
looks good. It looks it looks a little bit better. It's getting a little bit. It's correcting itself. It's funny. It's funny because when I talk to you and Ray, both of y'all have to be outside. You know, it's necessary.
It is, and there's like spots like closer to the structures that we have that are a little bit more shaded, but it's still like I like going where the parameters I can really just like portal in the piece and like no one's gonna be flowing in and out. So there's not much. The trees are low and it's just beaming. The sun is just beaming.
Yeah, beaming, live streaming as the sun is beaming. For sure.
Yeah.
When
Mm.
when did it get like that for you, Marie, where being outside was such a necessity, like a non-negotiable?
A non-negotiable. I feel honestly it's always been that way because I did grow up in the northeastern side of the states, and a lot of the time it was mostly snowing. So whenever the sun was out, even when it was snowy too, like just having that, especially when the sun is out, like when it's cold a lot and the sun is out, like you're gonna be outside if like you feel any type of connection to like your body and your health. And so I was always like as a kid just outside like as much as I could, like from sunrise to sundown. Like my mom would be like, "Come on, it's time to come inside." But um, yeah, I feel like growing up with like ranging seasons, it's always when the sun is out. I was like, I'm out here. I'm I'm a solar panel. Like whether I knew it or not to that degree, that's why I was like definitely with that for always for as long as I can remember.
Beautiful, beautiful. From sunup to sundown, they used to call it from can see to can't see.
Can't see the can't see.
Yeah, from can see to can't see to
Okay.
can't see. Yeah, from when you
Yeah.
can see to
Mhm.
when you can't see. Yeah, you be out there.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like just a natural like you get a call, you're up, time to go. Like that's the 9 to 5 energy.
And remind me, where did you grow up? Where was the neighborhood that you called home?
It was actually Ohio. Yeah. Like northern Ohio, like northeast Ohio, so like around the Great Lakes.
Ohio, Ohio. You know that's where Ellitown came up.
Yeah, that that's what that connection and that just that synchronicity. I love to the joy that that brings. It's just really fun to bask in.
So I haven't been to Ohio like that. What about Ohio do you feel like is there anything that you miss about Ohio or is there anything that, still remains with you, that being the place that you grew up?
Yeah, absolutely. Being that it's like the lands there are very ancient and very beautiful. It's a lot of mounds and a lot of like forests and um the my family, my lineage, they're Blackfoot, Native American. And that like energy you can feel very much like very powerful. Just the ancient codes in the land. And I feel like because there's not so much known about Ohio, it's kind of just intentionally like that. But the Serpent Mound, the Great Serpent Mound, is actually located in Ohio, and it's this huge mound that's shaped like a serpent, and it correlates to the stars and like the equinoxes and things. And there's like super big like pyramid energy there, and that's it. Just it definitely reminds me of like there's such an OG nature everywhere you go, and Ohio definitely like I always hold that when I think of it. And the more I've gone around and traveled, it's definitely like illuminated that more for me. And just like really allowed me to see the deeper roots that are there because it's some potent land for sure.
Whoa, OG nature, OG roots. Shout out to the plug.
Yeah, shout out to the fuck. Yeah, exactly. That's funny you say that. Because I was last night when I was reflecting, like it's just really fun to just like tap into the timelines, the timeless timeline, and like what comes through and the energy that the codes and just like the fun. And I was just like, all right, going in, like feeling the energy that we open up and we share, and like just the energy of being the plug. Like that's been a thing that's been communicated in the field a lot lately. And how when you're really tapped into like you have your source and then you have the outlet, and like that's like the input, the inner intuition, the feminine energy, the mother energy, and then you have the output and the masculine, the expression of that power. And then this avatar and this connection in this chord is that you're the plug. Like, and if you're always speaking to people like from that OG nature, that's where that like elemental power is really like looking to be expressed at its most like pristine, because it's like you are the plug, you are the chord. And it's really when you're tapped into that mother and father, into that source and that output. So like being that consciousness chord in between the two is it was really fun. That's what was coming up, like one of the things.
I love that. I love that, Marie, that consciousness chord, just channeling that. Thank you for that download, Thank you for just speaking that and expressing that because when it comes to your OG nature, like what are some of the things that you do that you would say on the daily, like some of your daily routines that you do to stay in your OG nature?
Mm. Yeah, that kind of corresponds with what I had posted yesterday about like when you have a mature subconscious, and that's like correlated to cultivating the yang shen in the Taoist energies, and a mature divine developing conscious mind. That's like when you're really culturing yourself and you're really having like customs and divine habits that are part of your practice, that you are keeping it pristine, you're keeping it clean, and you're keeping it like you're able to feel into the roots of the ground and all the way up to the heavens. And that just the practices of like different breathing and different qigong, like really seeing the roots, like the energy go into the roots of the earth, and seeing it go all the way into the heavens, like that is like that stabilizes the mother and father energy. And
Mhm.
so whenever I'm talking to people, I feel like that's such an opportunity to keep it super OG, because it's like you're talking to yourself from like when you can start at that level and like come forth with that as like your slate every day.
Mhm.
Like you're seeing like child parts of yourself, so you're seeing grown parts of yourself and all these different people. So it's like you're keeping it the most real with yourself. And that's like I love being able to connect and express with people, because I feel like that's a super cool opportunity to, because everybody's always talking like yeah, I'm real, like we want to talk like we're the realist, and it's like, what does that actually mean? And like it is that OG original God energy, and like keeping it clean. Like I'm also a Virgo, so like the cleanliness is like it's a natural thing for me. Like just different like cleanliness of the mind, cleanliness of the body, cleanliness of the heart, like different aspects that are just like super in that satisfactory like structured energy, and that's like that's very original to how we communicate and keep it ourselves in harmony with nature, and even like to the music, like it expresses in so many different ways, but definitely like the practices and connecting with people the most, because that's where I feel like it gets to shine for its most potential.
Absolutely, absolutely. Even when you speak on music, Marie, because I know that, well, actually, I've seen clips of you and reels of you where you're a musician, you're a singer, or you're like you're an artist.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
could say.
and so like I've seen there were reels that I've seen of you doing singing a track, or you were just going over a beat or an instrumental, you were just flowing, and it was
Yeah.
natural. It was a natural flow. It was holistic, and it was also just nourishing to see you in your element in that way. And when it comes to music and sound, the other day Ray was talking about, God said in the beginning there was the word, or there was the sound.
Hmm.
And when the study of cymatics, I looked at this study called cymatics where they would take sounds and they would see these sacred geometrical patterns being played out in water, in sand, in oil, in just all sorts of different materials. They're
Hmm.
physical matter, but the physical matter is making these geometrical shapes
Hmm.
because of the sound, because of the vibration and the frequency. So when it comes to, what you're putting out, like it sounds like you're very intentional. Can you speak on your artistry, like your music?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that that was always like just being being like hermited, but like also a very like I'm gonna use astrology as just like a reference point, because I like to use the sidereal, the 13th zodiac, and the Western. And in the Western, I'm a Virgo, but then in the sidereal, I say it differently each time, but I'm a Leo. So that like that energy that I have like two wings of, it's like music has always been an opportunity to like stay in that aura space of like my hermit and my solitude, and but then to give a platform for myself for it to be like outwardly expressed. And that was like just such a seamless and natural way, because learning and understanding the elements of sound, and like that was like that was the word, that was like what the beginning was, that it felt so natural to be able to give life in that way, and with rhythm and creativity and art. And I was definitely influenced with people and my friends at that time. Like there was that, like that was where we could cipher, where we felt so unified, like we were seen in this container of pure creativity, like through the cadence. And like it it's just such a beautiful thing to be able to do that, because it's like it's an element of persuasion in the most pure way, when you're really like clear and can be a channel for that, and a way that the mind and the brain just like so naturally absorbs codes and absorbs wisdom. Like you're it's such a program, being a whole sound being, if you can incorporate and incept with the elements of beautiful rhythms and beautiful cadences, beautiful tones. Like that's one of the most powerful ways I've always felt to express my art. And also with confidence as well. It's like been a natural skill for me to like sharpen my confidence, because I can feel, because that was actually my first time recording. Like I've always been in the studio, but I've always been like, nah, I don't want to get on the mic yet. But that was my first time actually hearing my voice, because I could feel like the passion that I carried, that I know and I can ignite and like deliver through. It's gonna reflect back to you like your level of mastery with it, and like just so much about self. And I was feeling that so crazy that first time. I was like, I feel like all the elements of where I'm at within my throat chakra power, my organization, and my confidence, my deliverance, and just like really feeling into like taking that wisdom and incorporating it in everything. Because just being in the flow, being like, 'cause it was a freestyle. I went in there with like an idea to lay down a different track, and then I was like, actually, I just need to like free up my voice, like just sing some tones, and then that just came through, and it was just such a powerful testimony to just how we move in life. And yeah, it speaks so much. It holds so many different codes of um, wisdom and what you can extract and input into it.
Absolutely. So that just came through naturally. That was like Wu Wei.
hmm
That was like effortless action. It was just effortless.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, it was super fun too, because then I was just feeling like the healing, the throat chakra stretching itself out. And I was like, yeah, this is like what I love to do, to be able to bring just like that spark of inspiration in this way. It's always just been such a powerful outlet for me.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that. We need an outlet and an inlet, like we plug in
hmm
and we receive, but we also transmit and we transfer. Yeah. So,
Exactly.
this is awesome, Marie, when you're talking about your passion, and it sounds so purposeful and it sounds so fulfilling for you to
hmm
be able to open your throat chakra in this way and to express your voice and to make that choice. And, when it comes to the cipher, you actually put something together for me that I didn't even realize. You
hmm
talked about the cipher because back in the day, we used to freestyle as well. I was the one beatboxing. I would be
Yeah, when you was
beatboxing.
beatboxing the other day, I was like, okay, let's get it.
Yeah. So whenever I was, with my friends in my old neighborhood, I would be the one that they would have beatboxing, and they would be freestyling, and sometimes I would jump in and they would make a beat on the table or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you said cipher, and it's almost like the word decipher, like when someone has to decipher something, right?
hmm
So when it comes to deciphering the different texts that you have read or that you continue to read, I am fascinated by you and Baba Rave when it comes to your abundance of knowledge and just the bountiful information that you put out with your vibration. You must have read, like, I don't know, countless texts. I can only assume how much you've absorbed and imbibed and like digested from all the things you've deciphered. Can you talk about your love of knowledge?
Yeah, absolutely. That's so many different elements are coming through. Yes, the power. So grateful. Yeah, absolutely. That's and I something that was coming through was how the what was it called? A lot of the sutras and like um the sacred texts were poetry. They were like songs. Like they were the mantras and like the holy books were actually like that was like the original hip hop. Like it that there was a meme or like a post one time that I read and I was like, this is like some of the realest thing ever, and it was just explaining the science of that, of like just the vowels, and when you can give it that rhythm and that pulse, like you're opening up different geometrical gateways for consciousness to actually see into and feel into that sound. And um yeah, definitely starting like in high school when we were speaking in our last video of like when consciousness just really started expanding and opening. I remember going to the library and I like 16 and I'm like I have no idea what topic of books I'm looking for, but I'm gonna figure it out. And then I found like a spiritual conscious section and I had like a stack of books, like I was just like flipping through them, going through them, and I was like actually feeling more of just like the energetic energy it was carrying. Like, um, that's funny. This is coming through. I think it's Criminal Minds or something. But the guy like Spencer. This might be a whole other show. But like what his like power is, he grabs books and he like scans them and reads them like super fast. And I felt like I was going through like I was able to just read the energetic signatures of them for certain books. But some books like I would really like thoroughly read as I was the author and like really program myself to that. And So from that 16 and like till now, like I love to read. That's definitely one of my things. And like even just listening to a lot of things, we definitely digest very like effortlessly in that way too, because it's like you can feel the different wavelengths if you're doing a more like beta wavelength type of thing, having like something that's programming yourself as you're doing it. It's a very powerful way. And yeah, just I love that way of like feeding self, because it's like when you can read and listen to things as it's your own, it's like it hits and imprints and impresses upon your remembrance on such a deep level. And then that we were actually listening to a video the other day that was talking about the energy of the matriarchal power. It's like women have that natural intuition. Like a lot of the times too, when I hit that certain point within self, I was like, okay, there's so much codes like going around, like and so much just exchange beyond the five senses. Even though we're tapped in and seeing with our senses, it's the codes and the information and knowledge that's beyond that you can see with your pineal and have that element of light come in through there. And so like it was speaking on how women like a lot of the times would just sit on the porch together and they could be having a whole conversation and not saying a word because the nature is moving through them and they know exactly what is being said, what's going on, the ratios of the alchemical energies going on, and like holding it down in that way. And that's where a lot of like the information now too, I feel like I'm in the studentry of being like very quiet and listening, and then like picking up books here and there when I feel more called. But a lot of it is like sitting on the porch drinking tea and allowing like the energy to descend in, and then deciphering it how it plays out in my movie and reality, and correlating it with everything like that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. You give me so many pictures and so many visions, as you speak. There was something that came through. I like how you say that. This is coming through. This is coming. This came through. It came through. One of the things that came through was there are these children in this school in Japan. I'll find the YouTube video and see if I can send it to you.
Yeah.
There was a lady, this teacher, a Japanese teacher, and she was teaching these kids what she called a method called quantum reading. You ever heard of quantum reading?
Mm. It sounds right, but to the T of like exactly what it is.
So what she would do, Marie, is that in the class, these students would be given a book, right? And so they wouldn't actually be reading the words on the book, but what they would do they would flip through the pages. They would just flip through the pages. Then they would listen to the book with their ears. They would
Okay, I think I
smell the
actually, yeah,
book,
yeah.
right? They would connect with the book. They'd place their hand on the book. They'd just connect to the energy frequency of the text. And then after doing this method, within a certain amount of time, they just intuitively understood what the author was trying to say.
Yeah.
And they never had to read a word. They never had to read anything.
I think I actually have seen like a quick clip, like snippet of that. But yeah, I'd love to see like a longer video of that too, because it's yeah, how I don't know her name. Practicing gratitude. Anna, you said?
Oh yeah,
But
Eva.
Eva, yeah. She said not reading but simply absorbing. Yeah, like just really feeling that the books and the elements of casting spells and writing, like that holds a whole signature and frequency, and just absorbing it in, like having communing with that level of communing at that level of intelligence. And that goes with everything. Foods, your environment, people, just like plant technologies. That's something I've always like had a powerful connection with that too, is like plant energy, like feeling it in the field before even like ingesting it or consuming it on that level. Like you can feel the power of like ayahuasca or mushrooms themselves, like without even, and that's like the sacred text in that same way.
Hmm. Because when you're thinking, Marie, like just of a book in general, somebody looks at a book and sees, oh, it's just words on a page. But when you really think about it, someone was talking to me and they were saying, hey, Jerome, like words are symbols. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like when you think about it, these are just modern day hieroglyphics. Like when you look back at the hieroglyphics,
Mm.
words are symbols. And even Elitom, he told me that, I mean, there was a time that if you knew how to read, you were considered divine.
Mm.
You know, like only the divine, only the elite, only the people up there actually
Mm-hmm.
knew
Right.
actually knew how to read.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
other people didn't, they didn't even know how to read.
Mm-hmm.
So if you actually knew how to read, you were
Mm-hmm.
considered divinity, you were divine, you know?
I
So
say.
when it talks about like, you know, he said, Jerome, he said, words are symbols to communicate what? You know, a thought, you know,
You
like
said
a
to it
thought.
cut out right there. You said to communicate thought.
Yeah, so he said words are symbols to communicate a thought, like they're
Mm-hmm.
symbolizing a thought. And so if you're reading the words, you are extracting and absorbing the thought and the energy of the author. So
Mm.
if you're
Yeah.
extracting the thoughts and the energy of the author through the symbols and words, then why would you only be able to extract it with your eyes? You know, it makes sense if it's all just energy that you could extract it any kind of way. I've heard of people, I don't know if you've heard of this, Marie, you could tell me. I've heard of people, they'll sleep with a book. Like they'll
Yeah.
put a book
Yes.
underneath their
Absolutely.
pillow and just be next to it, right? And I've even heard of people who they'll take a glass of water, they'll put
Mm-hmm.
the glass of water like on top of the book or something, and then
Yes.
later on they'll go back and they'll drink the water that has
Mm-hmm.
absorbed the energy from the book.
Oh yes.
So so can you talk about this? Like what else do you know
Yeah.
about this?
Yeah. I'd love to speak on, because I was practicing Hebrew for a little while and like sigilling in that way, and just going back to the cymatics of sound and when that, when certain sounds of these Hebrew letters would be playing, that was the formation, that was the element that would come up, and um, they're called the flaming letters of peace. And when we think of like mind power and the mind flame, what gives the power to see, to do, to create all these different things, like that, how you said it's a thought, like we're absorbing the thought, we're like absorbing the mind flame, that the actual energetic power behind these words and these sigils. And I definitely used to sleep with like stacks of books, like just around, like just having them around just felt really good, that I was like, my subconscious and the intelligence was just, they were there. If whatever wanted to be absorbed and picked up on, they were there for that to happen. And um just that element of how we infuse our thoughts, and like when we do create and we are in this free flow state, like you're using that mind flame to imbue and utilize the hands, and like the even the whole element of the hands, like when we write and when we text, we're taking that power of consciousness, of source code, and like putting it into a dimension of many different ways of expressing itself, and it is that just pure essence of the mind flame. So we have that ability to register and pick up on that, and so to communicate at that level, that is to truly be able to read as like the divines were able to, that it just speaks so much of like what it actually does mean to like read, like, and the universal language that you can feel even if you don't know a language. Like if a book is written in a different language, you can still tap into that mind flame of the essence that was imbuing it in the first
Yeah.
place. And yeah, that is super powerful. That, and I really appreciate how the Hebrew letters have like opened me up to like explore that even more, because that the flaming letters of peace is like representing like each sound as a flame, and the power of like the spark of life and life force itself. And yeah, it's super powerful.
It is. It is. Just how you're describing it is super powerful. You know, it's super
Mm,
unique. The mind flame. You
mm,
know, the mind flame. I told you these are words that I don't usually hear at
mm,
all. You know, from other people. I don't usually talk to people who talk like you. You
mm,
know, who speak in just these poetic ways that allow you to open yourself to a new perception, like the mind flame.
Mm.
You know, like the connection, the avatar, the hologram, like the everything is just very specific, but it's very holistic, it's very encompassing, it's very complete.
Mm.
You know, it's like not just saying a brain, a mind flame. You
Right?
know, it sounds
Yes.
so much more robust, you know?
Mm. Robust is like I love using that word and just so much gratitude because that like when I speak on like just tapping into this energy that we really open up together, so much creativity in the way that it expresses, it just like it mutates every time because it's just so much present magic and it's just the opportunity to be able to like open that omniscient flow is just like so beautiful. And oh yeah, the robust. Having robust energy channels. That's something that I've really been like honing in on and feeling into the body of what it even means to be able to like be fortified, to have a backbone and that warriorship of like robustness and like when you can really feel into like thickening your channels and having like I love how ESO talks on like the circulation of the microcosmic orbit naturally happening. It should be like shoulder width and like that robustness of being able to like have a large enough vessel and channels to compute levels of power and to move levels of power. And so yeah, just shouting out different ways in which we can express. And I feel like this also ties into the whole conversation because this was coming through during one of my meditations that I wanted to share, just like the element of divination, like words and oracle cards and just like writing, like that tapping in together, like this is like I feel the most supreme and ultimate form of divination because each character and each being holds a specific energy signature, a specific zodiac, a specific like favorite things and particular things that they like. So when we open up these channels, it's like we're really using each other as divination tools. And like that goes into like you being the record holder, how we were saying in our previous video, like being the record keeper, the record sayer, and like opening up these records through each other's oracular senses. And just the ability to do that, I love the uniqueness that comes through like um with your energy signature and like I forget what you said your zodiac was. I don't know if you said it last
Guess,
video.
guess what it is, guess.
Scorpio.
There
Yeah,
you go.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Yes,
First try, first try.
yes. I had like a little bit of remembrance, but I'm like you're definitely carrying that energy too, and just like so beautiful. So to be able to like have these different aspects and char- character aspects, like we are the divination tools, and the way that it's just been so beautifully expressed in so many different ways of like the shells, the cards, books, and anything that you like even like throwing dice like that's like an element of oracle like we're seeing the mathematics and we're tapping in and really opening that sight and that's what divination is all about and so to open the sight together through other beings like that's the most like this like precious form of it and I just it's such an honor to be able to be in this moment using each other as divination tools and sharpening our divination tool as ourself through each other.
Absolutely. I feel honored as well, you know. I feel honored as well. I feel privileged, you know, and I definitely just, I'm vibing with you. I resonate on every level because when you're talking about just, you know, the divination, the recitation of information, even affirmation that
Mm.
you know, you're putting out when you speak. And just when you're talking about like the robustness of warriorship, like I didn't even put those two together, just having that solid foundation, even with meditation, when it comes to, like you said, Brother Mark English, you know, having the energy channels and the level necessary to compute, you know, what's going on in that field of awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So another thing when it comes to symbols, Marie, there's a symbol that I've seen a lot, maybe in your bio, and I believe it's the Eye of Horus. If I'm not
Mm-hmm.
mistaken, it's the Eye of Horus.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you? And last time you said something about Khemetic Intelligence. Do these two coincide? Like, can you talk about your inspirations with these?
Yeah, absolutely. That's um that's one of the first things, like when I really started to open myself up to deeper levels of magic. The Kemetic science and intelligence really just naturally came through, and like books, art, different videos I would watch, it was just speaking through. And seeing the Eye of Ra, the symbology, that was like the mathematics. I've always had a fascination for math, like just the way the brain actually like creates more neurogenesis, neuroplasticity, doing like math and like being able to compute it and understand it. The it can represent the pineal and the pituitary gland, and the ratios that are actually when you section out like the eye itself, and then the teardrop and the spiral, they're actually like different fractions of the whole mathematical wholeness of how nature expresses oneness. And it's really cool to see that sacred symbology and communication through these different symbols, because that's way the subconscious like left it here for us to remember. And that's like to preserve the sacredness and the preciousness. It's like until we understand these different keys of mathematics, that's when it really like reveals itself to us for like what it really is. And like the Kemetic mystery schools and the different languages in which this power that is so naturally here for us to experience and to wield and be one with, it's through these different angles of symbology, because it's when you really have a clear subconscious and a clear mind to see what's actually being spoken underneath just a picture or an art type of piece or the hieroglyphics. If you were able to really read that, then that's like a level of like divination and divine consciousness that you've explored and opened up within yourself. And that it's a whole science of the ratios in the body and just seeing that perfection, because that perfection is like that unconditional love and opening up the science of the heart and the frequencies of the heart. And when that is really online, the magic to be experienced and held in and played with from such a pure state, it's the what we're here for. So it's encrypted in a way that the body does know how to open up and decipher, but there comes levels with your clarity, your cleanliness, and your ability to keep it OG within how far your roots go, and how to see that unity within all the different roots and how far they may be across the ground, but that they all reach up to the heavens and it all circulates. And these different symbols having that, the Eye of Horus is like the representation of that sight to see that, and it holds the fractions and different codes to unlock that and see the perfection in the nature.
Yeah, thank you for that breakdown. Very extensive, very eloquent and very extensive breakdown. Like just like a tree, the ability to reach down and reach up, the ability to do both, to reach to the heavens and reach down into the soil, into the earth, into the crust. So wow, just what you were talking about, just the levels, because last time you said new levels, new devils, and the levels of clarity, consciousness, and just having those levels and your ability to keep it OG.
The laugh. The laugh. Yes.
I love that, like what is your ability to keep it OG? Like do you have the ability to keep it OG?
You,
Right?
can we just start there? Can this be the standard?
Can this be on the form that you sign? Like, okay, the first question, right, right? Okay, ability to keep it OG. Okay, from one to ten, how can
You
you
got
keep
the
it
paper
OG?
out. You got the notes. You got the pen and the paper.
Rank yourself from 1 to 10 to keep it OG. Okay. I love it. I love it.
Me too. I love it. It's because it's so real. It encompasses the the circle, like the literally the circle, the ones and O's, the codes of like true gnosis, and like that the GNOSIS, the knowing of Aset Isis, like the knowing of the mother energy, like who we really are, like, and what the the code of conduct that that carries when you do know, and just the way you present yourself and that level of protection of that presence and the technology that you can harmonize with when you do have that level of embodiment and that wisdom truly experience, because that's where like you can have the knowledge, but then when you experience the application of that knowledge, then that wisdom, and the wisdom is like the Sophia,
Mm.
the Ein Sof Air, like different ways it expresses in all these different languages. And yeah, keeping it OG, like having a strong core and a backbone to like really situate and position yourself with posture for the presence and for the purity to move through you. And that's it. The elements of having the pineal online, like I really, when I tap into my practice and like going into the temple, like I got, that's like I'm going into the church like every day when I do that. And I really see the body as the tree, like what that really means. And how I love how Eli Tom says the root chakra is the whole body, because it's like you're, when you can see your roots and your connectivity to your spine going all the way up into the fruitfulness and the plentifulness of the illumination and what that can bring, it's all connected. It's all, and it all begins and ends in the same place, and that's just in that center. And when you really can tap into that center, you see how infinite the depths are and how infinite the heights are. And that's you, it makes you have no, like when you really experience that and really carry that as your, the way you conduct yourself and have that conductivity of consciousness, it's like, what are morals, what is morale, what can I, what like would my mother teach me from the most like intelligent source, like pure state of her experience and of her embodiment of that. And like that's what, that ability to just keep it the most OG is just like, I got to keep it like mother and father energy, like our real like tribal nature of what it even means to tap into the tribal technology and what that really is when we have, because like the hoods and those different elements, they came from tribal connection. We had that connection and that level of like brotherhood and sisterhood and looking out for each other in that way. And like you can see how it's been inverted and distorted in the different ways that that hood expresses, and like these different things, keeping it OG and keeping it real, but like the actual, what that actually means,
Right.
and not in its pure way.
Right, right, in its purity. Yeah, thank you for putting that spin on things. Like, thank you for flipping that perspective on its head and really like illuminating these areas that have been so stigmatized. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like we've often seen something just one way or just a few ways, but you're bringing it to light that it could be a whole nother way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And that's when we sent the like quick little voice message to each other earlier, and I was like, this clean education, it's like it's the it's the codes of like how we really have been in our most pristine, and bringing that into a now, the present moment that has never been a moment before. Like we get to take it to new heights and new depths and put our own spin on it and actually feel into the technology of what that even means, of like the spinning atoms and having life force around each atom and each intentional word that we speak. There's so many different levels of awareness and what you can pick up on that is constantly teaching us and teaching each other.
yeah. Gratitude for that, Marie. You know, just gratitude for, like you said, the moment that has never been a moment before. You know, that's such a reminder for me as well. Like, that's such a reminder every day. Like, I remember I was watching Walter White. They called him Heisenberg. There was a
Yeah.
show called Breaking Bad. You remember Breaking
Hmm.
Bad?
Oh yeah.
And Heisenberg, you know, Walter White, he had a conversation in the kitchen and he was talking to Jesse, and he grabbed Jesse because Jesse was, you know, he was in a fugue state. He was just kind of like delirious. He didn't have clarity, right? He didn't have
Hmm.
that discipline about him at that moment. He wasn't in
Right.
his godlyhood. He wasn't in his godliness. And
Hmm.
so Walter White grabbed Jesse in the kitchen and he said, Jesse, he said, today is the first day of the rest of your life,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And he said, now, what will you do with this day? Will it be a day of, oh no, 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 I can't do this. Like, oh no, I'm not enough. Or, oh no, 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 like I can't.
Right.
Of never believing in yourself. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like this day has never been here before,
Right.
and it will never be here again.
Mm-hmm.
This moment has
Mm-hmm.
never been here before. It will never be here again. What will you do?
What
What will you
will you
do?
do?
So that's
Yes.
always the question for me. That's always the question. Like, Jerome, what will you do with this day?
Mm-hmm. Me too. Every day. And like the I love how this is the moment for the rest of your life, and sometimes at night when we go and charge up, like a lot of the people I've been around, like I'll always say have the rest of your life, because it's like this is a moment you're resting, and this is like this is the moment. Have the rest of your life, because it's all right here in this moment. And like that's to even be able to like tell ourselves that and come and rise with that energy. It's like it gives a whole new perspective of like how we can challenge ourselves and present ourselves with new opportunities to grow even deeper, be more patient with ourselves, like, and to really actually tap into what's presently being called for from the body and from the mind, and like feel into that holistic energy, and like take care of ourselves from such a like now moment, because it's always like I could do this when I could do this sometime. I've done it before, but when you're really calling on yourself from like, okay, in this now, like you're being an oracle for yourself, and like allowing the alchemy that is needed for right here right now to just, you're guiding that and nurturing that and assisting that from such a present space. And that's the most real, because then the genetics, your genes are actually online, they're open, they're receptive, and you're giving that connection a very clear chord of like, yes, I'm listening, and yes, I'm receptive, and I'm also speaking life at the same time. So it's that whole give and receive from a very intelligent space.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking life, speaking life and not the opposite, You're speaking life into us right now, Marie. Like you're speaking life into me right now. I'm just letting you know,
Mm.
in case you didn't know, now you
Likewise.
know. You
Thank
are
you.
speaking,
Likewise.
you're speaking life.
Mm.
And another thing that I'd love to know about you and about your practices. When you were talking about practices, there's one thing that I saw in your page. I think it was in your bio, there was a book. It was like a PDF, and it talked about Ori,
Oh, the orange
Ori's
therapy.
Sun
Yeah.
Nectar. It was a Ori's Sun Nectar. They call it the fountain of youth. They call it the elixir of life, the
Hmm.
golden elixir. Amaroli, Shivambu. It goes by
Yes.
so many names. But
Hmm.
when did this awareness come to you, and what has it done to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I would say during 2020, when everything was kind of like lockdown, 2019. So like 2019 going into 2020, I um I was in a car accident, and it affected my head. I had some staples and like a whole experience of like I gotta knock some sense into myself, like on a deep level. And so then after that happened, that's when everything like locked down. So it like really represented like a lot of power and a lot of just like messages for me at the time. And so I really went inward, and I was just like on a deep like silent solitude, but also like assisting, nurturing the other person that I was with at the time that was also in the car accident. And it was a lot, just so many different codes and so many different wisdoms pouring through like on such a different way, because when you are at that level of like, okay, you're really really focusing on your healing now, like you got no other choice type of thing, and everything was just closed in, and it's like forcing you inward. That's what a lot of people felt, but I was like really grateful for that time, because I needed it. I was like, this is kind of natural, this is where I'm at anyway. And so when that happened, and I really started like focusing on different ways I could heal, the head space and the mind space is what was really for me my focus in healing. And that's when like a lot of people started coming up online, and the connections I was making online, and I started to see um I forget the brother's name, but he was posting a lot. It just came across my page was the Orin therapy, and I was like, this is
Was it
like I.
Brother Sage or
Mm,
Harry Matadine, Brother Sage, someone in the community?
mm, I can't remember exactly, but then that page led me to Nick Caputo, and then I saw Baba's
Okay.
page, and then I saw Brother Sage page. I saw Raw of Light, the Light Bearer page, and like just all these different pages and all these different brothers speaking on it. And I was like, this is really powerful. And I love Baba Yanun's teaching, how he really teaches sound right reasoning. And that's something that like my mother has always like naturally like we've always spoken that without even having like a full um vastness of what we were actually speaking on. But like the Orin therapy was just a sound right teaching that like felt just so natural. I was like, this is something I definitely would experience and love to tap in deeper with. And the person I was with at the time, he was like, he had a lot of anxiety. He was very affected by the car accident and just his lifestyle. It was like just a very down time for him. And when I shared the information with him as well, it lit him up. Like he was like, this sounds like so beautiful. I'd love to try it. And he actually was the first one to try it. And he told me like it like suppressed his appetite. It made him feel better. Like he just felt so much brighter and lighter for the whole rest of the day. And so that's I started incorporating it as well. And I was also doing like my fast at the time, so I was very light bodied, and so that felt like the most natural because there were so many different elements of like, don't eat this if you're gonna do it, don't do this if you're gonna do it. So it just felt like it came at the most natural time where I was just naturally light, and I was just very like just keeping it as clean as I could at the time. And when I experienced it, it was just like, it was just such a remembrance of like, wow, that everything about the body is perfect. Like this, the codes of like the crystals was just like, we have had so much fear to find ourselves distasteful and uncleanliness, and that's where like that separation even comes in, and like to really merge with yourself at something that is just like tossed away and used as garbage, but actually it's not. It's actually extracted from a lot of public places and put into products, and like in so discreetly used for so much medicine. And it was like a coming home to myself on a whole other different level. And then it made me immediately want to start aging it because I was like tapping into the power of it fermenting and like holding more code and getting more culture. And then when I started doing that and like feeling into the power of when I was like really clean and doing my fast, taking shots of the aged, it was like a whole it was a, I was birthing new levels of light within myself that was just like, this is undeniable. And like I shared it with my mother, and she had that element of like, yeah, I could see that being a thing for sure. And it was just so cool, like for her to like just so many different confirmations, and the way the testimonies were just coming up, it was just like undeniable. And so to this day, like I still practice it every day. Like I eat a lot of fruits like when I do eat, so it's mostly hydrated codes that are coming through. And so yeah, I'll keep it and I'll age it as well. And then when I feel called to like do enemas, that's what I'll do with them as well with the age, because it's powerful stuff.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, those are the only enemas that I've done as well with the aged or with the
Same.
evolved, with the evolved water.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, my goodness, like so much to unpack in that, Marie. First of all, geez, for the accident, I'm glad it wasn't worse than it was. I'm glad you're still here.
Mm. No problem.
I'm glad you made it through that ordeal. And it sounds like you really had to go inward and just be very introspective. I mean, the
Hmm.
same thing happened to Bruce Lee. Bruce
Yeah.
Lee, he has journals where there was a period of time where he was down. He was in the hospital, or he was recovering from some sort of illness, or something that he wasn't able to work out, he wasn't able to exercise, and he was in a very depressive period.
Hmm.
And he wrote a lot of writings in his journals that alluded to him finding out about this knowledge, that he
Wow.
found out that he had to become his own flame, and from within himself he could light himself from within. Like he found
Hmm.
something inside of himself that had always been there, and he had to learn to love himself in a new way. So it's
Hmm.
very esoteric. I'll find the verse that he writes
Yeah.
and I'll send it to you. But it's totally
I'm
art therapy. It's totally.
I absolutely Absolutely. That's even like the cleansing waters written in the Bible. Like, there's so many just things that allude to this perfect elixir. And when you understand the kidney technology and like just different elements and routes that are actually just like it's in your face all the time. And just to experience like that, like so much fear around like why people don't have self-love or like haven't fully felt that like true nature, because we have this like separation or even seeing any part of the body as like foul and like unclean and unholy. Like it took a whole new like just deeper view into like why the way things are playing out they are the way they are, and like how we can really like pull it down on a from a quantum level of like we're jumping right to the point of the cognitive dissonance, like programming the subconscious mind and what people think about you. Like it really gets like right to the point on a deep level, and that journey from there is just such a one of empowerment and of true genuine self-love. And yeah, it's
It
beautiful.
is. It definitely is. And I envy you, Marie. I envy you. Seriously, I'm jealous. I'm jealous. I'm jealous. I'm jelly because when you said that your mom just accepted it, I was like, what? 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 Like my family would never,
Mm,
like my dad, my mom, there's so
yeah.
many of my family members that they have no idea. And I'm not very outspoken about it, but
Mm-hmm.
they would definitely like they feel better about me not eating at all than me consuming my own waters. That crossed the line, you
Oh
know?
man.
Like
Yeah.
if I'm not eating at all, I'm not eating anything, for years at a time, they're cool with that. I
Mm.
don't eat food, it's okay, whatever.
Right.
But the moment I say I'm drinking my water, then that's a problem. So
That whole face, yeah, said it all, yeah.
So when you're talking about something that's so stigmatized, something that, like you said, we become distasteful to, like something that we think is filthy, it's coming from the channel of conception. It's coming down the same channel as life, the same channel that gives, that is allowing life to come into the world. That's the same channel. Like, why would something filthy come down the same channel? Would
Yeah.
we be that poorly designed that we would have that? So these were the questions I started asking. But when you said that your mom just accepted it, I was like, come on, that's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, that I appreciate that a lot, like deeply, because I do really recognize like it's been a perfect balance, absolutely, because our level of being able to connect and see each other as individuals also came from a deep energy of me having to learn detachment and patience because of her own addictions and her own lifestyle choices. And so it really I just deep respect, because I know everybody carries that, the having to find that perfect balance and seeing that sight and maintaining that level of acceptance and unconditionality. And because her and I, the way my childhood started off, it was just her and I until I was about 7 years old. So like we created a bond that was deeply rooted in trust and like autonomy and just allowing us to explore ourselves. And like that set the tone for like going forward. Yet as she progressed in her life, like she had picked up her own addictions, her own things, and like things that I had to accept, and then kind of switching the role of being the mother, being the daughter. And we saw that, like even in our times of fogginess and confusion, we saw that we would go in and out of being each other's parent and being each other's child, whether it was spoken, but now we speak on it from a that we have like giving each other space as a love language, and she's in a different state and I'm over here. Like we say it all the time, like we feel like our connection is so much more genuine and so much more real because it's allowing us to flourish at our own authenticity, and so we can actually communicate things from a place that are vulnerable and could be uncomfortable, but still recognizing that like we're reflections, and like being that reminder for each other. Like that's what I really try to speak on and keep it with all of my family because there is still a disresonance in lifestyle and things. But yeah, just acknowledging the balance that it really is of like the pain and the pleasure of it, and just the things that I've got to experience and the acceptance and freedom in the way I'm supported in that. It's because I've given that as well, and it's taken a lot for me to grow in character to be able to accept these expressions of lifestyle habits and choices and the way it affects them. But also when I know I accept that and really come from my heart with them, what it's out actually allowed us to bring in the healing from a digestible level that we're both at. And yeah, it was cool to it's cool to be able to freely express like where you're at in your journey, because there is that level of detachment of like you're your own being, I'm my own being. I'm still learning how to take accountability and you're on your path. And she always saw that within me. So she's always been open to like everything I've shared with her, because she's still at a place within herself that is like, she says I inspire her and wants to be like me when she grows up. And it's like that, it's like these little things that are just like really sweet that I do recognize are such different like nurturing points and power points of like a springboard off to your own growth. And when you don't have that, you have to find that, and you see it because you do have it, and you have to just have that sight and that clarity and that unconditionality and acceptance to see it for what it looks like, even if it's different than how it looks like for somebody
Mhm.
else.
For sure, for sure. I love that you know, you have that support and that that you have that bond, you know,
Mm,
and you have that trust. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Because, you know, when it comes to like parenting or reparenting or even swapping the roles of parental, you know,
Mm-hmm.
swapping the parental roles, do you feel like how do you feel when it comes to the thought of having children? You know, is it something that you see for yourself later on down the line?
Mm. I can, when I tap into the infinite timelines, I definitely do see it. And as like, but it's not of a priority or like it has to be set in stone that way, because there are levels of preparation that I'm still cultivating, that if it is to be set in a whole initiation and a ceremony for that level of consciousness of self to come through in that way, in that technology, there's levels of preparation that I am still equipping myself in. And it's kind of just natural as I'm on this path and continue on, that parental energy. I feel that with everybody. Like everybody that I connect with, there's like, because these mother and father archetypes and aspects are like working in holistically uh expressing themselves within my being, and I'm really like learning how to like actualize and speak and express with them. It's like a natural parental role that people like find and feel within me. And being the oldest of five siblings, it's kind of just been a natural thing as well. So I feel like I do have like a little bit of
Yeah.
experience, and like
You already
it's
have
given.
children.
Yeah, exactly. And like the whole earth, when you can really tap into that divine feminine responsibility, it's like the entirety of everything. When you can peer through the lens of being a child of source, everybody is that. And so it's like that's where like the codes of conducts, the morale, the principalities in which you present yourself and wish to pierce other people with, like from such a loving heart, because it does take, you gotta like be sharp in that parent energy, that get it right and precise, but it's coming from such a clean, pure space. And I feel that with everybody, and I feel like a lot of people would agree that it's like they've given that like Baba Rave and I, we have that energy together of like, people have said you guys are like my parents. Like it's just so, but it comes with a level of really acknowledging like how to be efficient and proficient and progressive with that energy, because there's a level of martyring that can produce old paradigms and patterns when that's not like seen within the other individuals being within themselves. And that's kind of my energy of just like wanting to infuse and ignite that parental reparenting ability within everybody, because that's what I got and can just be got going on. And that's just the reminder that I'm bringing.
Beautiful, beautiful reminder. You know, just yeah, yeah. I like how you said that. I gotta take that. I gotta steal that, Murray. The way you said, there's levels of preparation that I'm equipping myself with.
Exactly.
you said
Yeah.
there's levels of preparation that I'm equipping myself with levels of preparation. We're going through levels of preparation.
Yeah.
I gotta take that line. I love it. But you've already
Yeah.
parented. You know, it sounds like being the oldest of five. You said the oldest of five?
Hmm.
That's a whole tribe.
It's
That's a whole
all
tribe,
right,
you know?
right.
So you've already parented. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that's the comment asked about you as well. Yeah, I'm curious as well, like what, because this is something I actually was talking about with Baba the other day of just like what what does it inspire and invoke, or like what is it tapping into like being a father? Like is that something that you see yourself, or like what does that bring for your masculine growth and priority of like where you would, if you do see yourself in that, where you prepare yourself?
Yeah. You know, I'm equipping myself with levels of preparation at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Yo,
my gosh. I told you that's like the best answer. No.
you don't say.
You
You don't
know,
say.
it's just the oh man, I love that. Yeah, I've had thoughts in the past.
uh,
I'm in a library. I'm in a library, Marie. You're gonna get me kicked out. You're gonna get me kicked out the library.
you ever seen Silent Library? Come on, what you doing?
So, yeah, I've had thoughts in the past of, what would I be like as a householder? What would I be like as a father figure? And I've even had people, give me compliments saying, "Hey, Jerome, you'd be a great father. You'd be a great dad. You'd be a great," and I always take that, and I receive that. I just at this moment, I don't. Like even as I'm looking outside, I'm watching. I see kids. I see kids at the grocery store. I see them with their parents. I see them, and I'm uh, I'm in no rush. Like I'm really in no rush, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, because I know that time is ticking away.
Great.
There's a societal expectation, but I don't really fall into that expectation at the moment. I don't feel pressured at all. Like I
Yeah.
feel very, blessed to be in the position that I am, to work on myself and not have to take care of a whole nother being, like a whole nother soul, that I'm responsible for,
Yeah.
in that way. It, the level that I'm, the level that I want to continue to be in service,
Hmm.
not that it would greatly impede that, but when I think of having a child, I'm like, do I need that? Like at the moment, is
Exactly.
it necessary for me? Like, will I be fulfilled if that doesn't happen?
Hmm.
Can I be content? So it's just something that I've told myself, hey, if it happens, it happens, but I'm not out here searching. I'm not
Exactly.
out here looking for
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, as I said, exactly, because that's it's coming from a place of like true clarity of what it even means to have a child. Because they
Right.
say a child is for the tribe, because it's like a level of unity consciousness that you're birthing through your ancestral wisdom self. So it's like when you understand it as and overstand it as a technology, it's like the consideration levels are at an all-time high because it's like you're recognizing the environment, what that needs to like fully flourish that being into its your most pristine self. And when you're already doing that at this path and on this like juncture of the journey, that's like it's not the proper piece of equipment that you're equipping yourself with yet. And because that's like when you can really prepare, that's what Baba and I speak on a lot, is like the preparation comes from such a level of understanding what it actually means to bring through a child and the factors in the equation that you find yourself in when it is properly prepared for and the numbers are precise, and because it's not going to be exactly the way you think of it every time, right? But there are levels of intelligence that you can infuse yourself with, infuse the environment with, that actually assist that birth at a deeper level. And like when you're on the path of immortal cultivation, you're birthing yourself. You're growing yourself within the Dantian. You're having tapping into the embryonic breathing, and like what Brother Iso talks about. Like that's something I've been wanting to go deeper in because I can actually feel the embryo of myself being birthed through this chi journey and
Yeah.
like through this immortal journey, and like really bring it up so you can have the most like potential of what it means to birth a child actually be experienced, and the wisdom that it comes with. And yeah, no rush. This whole journey is that there's no rush to it, and any pressure is just that illusion and what we're clearing out. And so it just gives reverence too to the genetic codes that we're carrying, that we're clearing, that we're activating. So it's just like such a subtle consideration that is it's just so much reverence for the life force because you're bringing it in its most like raw manifestation. Yeah, there's never to be pressure on that.
Yeah. I mean, with the life force, I mean, I didn't even know what the life force was back in the
Mhm.
day.
Right.
I didn't even know what it was, Marie.
Mhm.
Like, I was just giving it away,
Mm.
giving it away frivolously, like it had no value, you know? Years ago, like decades ago, it had no value.
Mm.
There was no value. So now it has all the value, you know?
Exactly.
It's back then it didn't really mean anything. Now it means everything, it
Mhm.
means everything. And I heard you mentioned the embryo or the embryonic chi. Are you doing like heavenly essence qigong? Like what kind of?
Mm-mm. I haven't really explored that at all, but at some of his lives, the brothers' lives that he's done for free,
Yeah.
he speaks on it, and like so I've been getting some information about it, but no, I haven't. It's kind of just been a natural journey, and this is an experience that I had. I wanted to. We've been talking about getting on a call to go deeper into it. Um, it was actually I'll share it on here because I feel like it's pretty powerful. Just to go into it a little bit, but when you're like the essence of like impregnating yourself with the chi, the dantian, like the womb, when you can really like make yourself feel that whole terrain and ecosystem of life, just like cultivating, like that was like just something I was like just naturally picking up on. And so the qigong and then the neigong and the neidan started just coming into the reality just so seamlessly. And I was like, even like people were like coming around me, like some of my friends and stuff, like asking about like if I would be pregnant or if I'm gonna be pregnant. And like it kind of like was throwing me off because I was like being like with a masculine partner, I could see why people were picking up on that, and I was putting it more in that focus realm, and I was like, no, like we're on a different type of timing of that. And it like kind of like aligned me and got me like really like I need to be more sincere like with this level, and like having masters and guidance and assisting this, because I can feel like the embryo itself and the embryonic breathing and the whole body breathing and like the different levels and the steps that I'm at right now, but like needing some more reflections to actually speak upon it with, to like give it more life and just be sincere and considerate with the process that is. And yeah, I would love to learn more about the heavenly essence. I feel like it's definitely holding some codes that I could utilize, but I don't know too much.
Yeah. No, you know enough. It sounds like you know what you're talking about. I mean, you're holding the codes that we're all able to utilize,
Mm,
like by listening to you. This has all been valuable. I mean, I don't know if you're noticing, Marie, but as we've been speaking, so many people have been just talking about, this is such a yummy conversation. I'm blessed to be able to listen, and I joined at the right time. So glad to have arrived here. Like people are just chiming in and checking in and just showing love for you because all the words that you're speaking are right on time. You know?
mm.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And likewise, like our ability to like uphold this platform together and like know that it's rooted in presence, it allows us to be able to like surf the depths and surf the heights and like just maintain such a centered connection. And it's when we first like started opening this up, it was just like this feels just so right on time, and I just have such a deep reverence. And there is in like one of the sutras or the teachings of the master yogis, they talk about like the Buddhic path and the Dharma path, like it's the friends along the way, like that have been the reminders that make you like that give you the momentum to keep on going into your stillness and into your silence and into your
Yeah.
practices. And it really just rings so true to the time and the connections that we're all making and just speaking the life together. Because that was something going, my Instagram was breathe Vita for a while, and it was like just breathing the life. And then when you really embody that, like the inspiration, it wants to come through your throat chakra, it wants to bridge these higher heavenly realms in the earthly roots. Like it wants to express his intelligence and rearrange the cymatics into the castles of communication, is what we were saying, and like really bridge and create these realms of royalty that we can remember together through this power and this energy. And it's everything that comes through is just deeply rooted in reverence.
Deeply rooted. Deeply rooted in reverence. Love the alliteration all the time. Just alliteration everywhere. You
It
know?
happens.
Yeah. They say, that family and friends are hidden treasures. And when we talk to each other, we enjoy our riches. You enjoy the riches of the company you keep. There was an illustration that had a dragon and a panda, and the dragon was riding on the back of this panda. And it was a small dragon, kind of like Eddie Murphy from Mulan, like that kind of dragon. And the dragon asked the panda. He said, "What's more important, the the journey or the destination?" And the panda thought, and he said, "The company."
Hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I felt that. I felt that the company, along the way, the people you meet along the way, the company you keep is definitely is priceless.
It is. It's so priceless because it's like even what's just coming down, what's coming down, what's coming through. The raining riches of remembrance, the way it's coming down and coming through is like when you understand the essence of like you're a business and you like this is your business. Like you're the CEO, you're the manager, the corporation. Like what other companies do you want to collaborate with to make the most wholesome wealth and the wholesome riches? And it really is just I'm feeling it so deep as well. And that's like to be so into the heart space that we understand what true wealth is and to entrust each other with these keys that we've unlocked ourselves with. It's like it's sharpening, and to be entrusted with the visions of the heart, that's what I always like just give so much gratitude for, because it's like wow, like the power and the pureness is felt within another being to like share the keys and the gifts that have like unlocked your journey along the way. And it's like taking it from a level of like the highmost secrets and supremacy all the way into the common people in the ordinary mind. And it's like just giving that full spiral of sovereignty and pure connection
Yes.
and acknowledging that within everybody.
Yes. So thank you for this, Marie. Thank you for your sovereignty. Thank you for your pure connection. Thank you for your reflections. Thank you for your mind flame,
Wow.
right? Thank you just for entrusting us with what's in your heart, what's with deep inside of you, entrusting us with that, being vulnerable, being open, being candid, and being unafraid, to let yourself be seen, let yourself be heard
Mm.
with each and every word, you know? Yeah.
Wow, the wizards of the spoken word, like it's we're here with the MCs of the beatboxing, the business buoyancy, the bliss consciousness, however we want to come at it and let it express itself. It's such an honor and so much fun. Like every time I just laugh and I got a big smile because I'm like, yes, let's get it. And it's just so reflected, so mutual, and will continue circulating it all the time. I appreciate all the gems and just the pure heart. It radiates and it's felt through all the whole web. Like it's big felt. And I want to know how to be able to do that on lives. Like you always hitting everybody
You
with
can
that.
do it. You can do it. It's like,
I think you might have to be like the starter of the live, maybe.
I don't know. It's just something that it was an update. It was a little update that just one day it just started happening. I was like, what? Yeah, it just started happening out of nowhere. I was like, oh, okay, we got upgrades. It's like you ever seen The Matrix Reloaded?
um, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, The Matrix Reloaded. The agents were coming at Neo, right? Now Neo, he had already like they're nothing to him right now. And in
Right.
Matrix Reloaded, like he already can dodge bullets. He can already stop bullets,
Mm-hmm.
right? So these agents are nothing to him. But then one of them came up to him and he was like, and then he did he
Okay.
did something like he punched and he blocked his punch and then he like he hit him with a move and he was like, oh,
All
upgrades,
right. Yeah. Okay.
upgrades. He
New
said
new
upgrades.
upgrade unlocked. Yeah.
He said upgrades. Okay, upgrades. So
Upgrades.
that's
Exactly.
that's what happened with this. With this, I was like, oh, upgrades, upgrades.
See, that's what that qigong. That's what this light path would do. It brings the natural, seamless upgrades that just are so fun. That's so cool. I'm like, let me get on my let me keep on my upgrades so I can get that
You already
notification.
upgraded. You already up leveled. You already there. You already there. So
Uh,
much love, Marie. I can't wait to just continue this series with you.
yeah,
Just continue
like
this with you. Thank you so much, just for all that you shared. Yeah.
absolutely. Likewise, brother.
All right.
Mhm.
All right. Take care. What is the what's the go away greeting? I know praises and cheers is the coming. What's the go away greeting?
Divine departures.
Divine divine departures. Well, so it is.
So it
So
is.
it
Ashe.
is. Take care.
Mm-hmm.